Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, and I certainly can tell you what a wonderful partner Strong Cities has been to the city of Savannah, Georgia. Also very glad to see my friend Mayor Ginther here for the U.S. Conference of Mayors and Mayor Patterson for the National League of Cities, of which myself and the city of Savannah share a proud leadership. I'm here to talk a little bit about reimagining community safety, and I'm going to try to do this in 10 minutes. I was given 10 minutes, so I'm going to do my best to be able to try to do that. But some things to talk about and keep in mind for us in Savannah is to do a couple of things. First thing is to add and multiply, not to subtract and divide. The second thing is to talk about belonging as opposed to fitting in. Thirdly, knowing the difference between gumbo and soup. And I'll answer that at the end, very end, to remind me, knowing the difference between gumbo and soup. And finally, that public safety and community safety is a public responsibility and a public opportunity. So let me put into context a little bit about reimagining community safety by saying in community we get the words cooperation. In community, we get the words communication or communicative and the word unity. And so that kind of gives a context of where we are talking about today. Let me tell you a little bit about my city to help put this in context. Savannah was founded in 1733. It is the oldest city in Georgia. It is the first city in the state of Georgia, or the colony of Georgia. It was founded on the same day as the colony of Georgia by a guy named James Edward Oglethorpe. Who was from England. When he got there to found Savannah, there were already people there. We have now grown to a city of about 150,000 people. We host about 16 million visitors a year that come to Savannah to see our beauty. We have a very storied American history. Our city, in 1779, free Haitians came to Savannah along with Polish and French soldiers to help America fight for her independence in the siege of Savannah. German General Sherman, when he came through the United States, he did not burn Savannah. And certainly Savannah served and survived the civil rights movement of the 1960s. We've had 67 mayors. I'm number 67. There have only been 4 of color and only 2 women. And so we've always struggled with really issues of race and class, particularly those of color, those are black, and then those who are white. And we have gotten to the point where we have become much more intentional about addressing these issues, particularly as it relates as we are right now. Anytime you wake up to the news, every single day you wake up, and I woke up this morning and I turned to the news and I see reasons around the world of why strong cities is so necessary. If the issues of the world are going to be addressed or saved, it's going to be done at the local level. It's going to be done by cities. It's going to be done by you. So how do we address public safety and community safety in a place like Savannah? The first thing is that you have to be intentional. You have to say it, and you have to mean it. It's one thing to say it, but it's something totally different to mean it. And so in our vision statement, we say that Savannah will be a safe, environmentally healthy, and economically thriving community for all. That key word is all. And working from that equity space, that's how we get from some to all. Some people don't like you to deal with all, because some people feel like it's a zero-sum game, that if I have all and I give you some, then I don't have all anymore. But no, I think it's much more different. It has to be really bringing people and creating spaces for people to be a part. So the first thing is being intentional. The second thing is creating belonging and creating a belonging community. And that is different than fitting in. And when people fit in, you expect for them to come and assume the characteristics that's already there. And that's not Savannah. We want you just as you are. When we find that people engage in hate and extremist behavior, it's because they feel left out. For some reason, they feel different than everybody else. And what we've done very intentionally in Savannah is say, come as you are. We will love you. We will like you just as you are. And so we're very intentional about doing that. When I became mayor, we created task forces to make sure that underrepresented groups had seats in communication directly with City Hall. So I started, and this was during COVID. I'm a COVID mayor. I became mayor in January 2020, and in March of 2020, we were in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. So we created OLA, which is the Hispanic Outreach and Leadership and Advocacy for our Hispanic neighbors. We created the AAPI for Savannah Task Force. We created the YALL Task Force. It was youth, young adults leading locally. We created what was called Savannah Ability, because the largest minority group of all are those that are disabled. The REAL Task Force, which was our Racial Equity and Leadership Initiative, stolen from the National League of Cities. Our Savannah Faith Initiative, where we brought together faith leaders from all over our communities. Proud Savannah, which was for our LGBT community, because we don't care who you love. Our ARCs, Advocates for Restorative Communities of Savannah, because we recognized that there were people returning home from jails and prisons, and they needed to belong as well. And then, of course, Working Savannah, which dealt with our labor unions and in places of working people, issues with them in Savannah. And so in creating a belonging community, we created what's called the Ministry of Presence. Just being there. Just being there. Just showing up. That if it's important to people in our community, then me as the mayor, I'm going to be there. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be present in the moment. So in addition to being intentional and in addition to creating a belonging community, you have to have education and training. Because hate is learned behavior. My friends, if you put two babies of any race, gender together, they do what babies do. They play. And all they care about is who's playing with me. But then they go home. And from us and from our greater community, they learn differences. And then when they come back to play, now they choose who they play with based on some of the things they hear. So if hate can be learned and hate can be taught, then hate can be unlearned and love can be taught. And so we educate and we create opportunities for our young people to be engaged in that, because we have to break the cycle of the generational curses of hate and fear and isolation. So we work with our mediation center to teach our young people, and we do this for free, to become peer counselors and become mediators, to help them to be able to understand that our world is a global place and we are global citizens. We also engaging in our law enforcement, also our city employees and any members of our community, to be able to help them to be able to understand about implicit bias and how that affects where we are and how we think and how we believe and ultimately how we act. So in addition to being intentional in creating a belonging community and education and training, you have to have policy. And you have to fund the policy. It means nothing, my friends, if you're saying that this is important and yet you have any money behind it. And so we've engaged not only in funding those opportunities, but also funding those organizations that are willing to work with us in helping to build community safety. And then finally, I think I'm almost within 10 minutes. You have to be prepared to take the hit. In America, there's a sport called basketball that I love. And there is what's called an offensive foul. The person is dribbling down the court. And as they're dribbling down the court, you as a defensive player know this person is running towards you. And you have to stand firm, knowing you're going to get hit. But you take the hit. You take it. And so we as elected leaders know that some people are not going to like this type of thinking in terms of community safety. And you can't be afraid. You have to know that the hit is going to come, and you have to be able to take it. We recently, matter of fact, this week unleashed for our 311 service, which is a intake service, opportunities to expand our language offerings. And I posted about that. Hey, 311, we are now offering new language opportunities for people. And some people went crazy. Well, why don't they learn English? How dare you? Or why are we using taxpayers' dollars to help people understand us better? It's a hit. But you have to be willing to take the hit. You have to be willing to protect people. You have to be willing to speak up, and stand behind the underdog. I don't like bullies. And so when I see people being bullied, my first inclination is to stand with that person being bullied. Because it's much harder to bully two than it is to bully one. And it's much harder to bully if the mayor is standing next to that person. So if someone is being bullied in the city of Savannah, Georgia, they're going to have a problem with me. And I'm not afraid. So I appreciate the opportunity. I'll tell you that reimagining community safety, cooperative communication and unity starts and begins with leadership. So it starts and begins with us. Thank you.